From the imposing castle of Shapi, guarded by 2 God of Wars, it's your boy, Boo. And today, we're going to rank and tier some of the weapons in this game. I will do a brief guide on all of its battle arts and basically give you a bit of an idea of what you should invest on in this game. Now, as you can see, to the right here, I have all the weapons maxed out. I 100%ed the game, so I think I have a decent idea what I'm talking about. So, anyway, let's get started. So the first weapon that I'm going to be talking about is the staff. I think the staff is probably the weakest in my opinion. The reasoning behind this is because its funny mechanics are where you twirl your staff around. It's built upon breaking the enemy's guards, which is great, but really, honestly, it's not all that good. It's not that fast, and most importantly, you could just use your skills for it. So the base ability of the weapon is kind of moot. Even if you were to use it and twirl around it in some crowd, you don't kill fast enough. It's not ideal. However, it does have some decent skills. Now, I rate this weapon more in terms of if we're going by like a S to F system, I would put this around like a B. This is actually a surprisingly solid weapon, despite what I have mentioned, if you ignore, its intrinsic skill and focus on like its battle arts. Because in terms of battle arts, it does have a few good ones. It's not super amazing, but there are a few good ones that you could look into. The first one, especially. Brutal Barrage is an amazing technique. Now, it doesn't do like supreme amount of damage, but it comes out fast, especially if you mastered it. And believe me, I mastered that really fast because it comes out fast as it is, but now it comes out faster. See, the thing is that it gives you a quick burst of damage, and it gives you also a quick burst of shield damage. As you can see in the preview down here, the dude lost like a shield and a half just from one use. Now, it's really fast. In terms of battle arts, I really value things that aren't too flashy, or if you're going to be flashy, slow down time, so that it comes out fast and the enemy has no chance to react. Brutal Barrage is the skill for staff users. And if you were to be like me and eventually work towards getting the Disc of Huanglong, then Brutal Barrage is an extremely spammable skill at 2. You can just spam it all day, break their guard, and then rip them in half. It is an exceedingly powerful skill, especially with Disc of Huanglong. So I would recommend building towards it. It is a very good skill. I can't emphasize it enough. Even in its base form costing 3, you could still spam a few times. But man, once you reduce it to 2, oh my god, that skill is ridiculous. Ruinous Wave, on the other hand, not so good. Not a very good move. You just sweep. I guess if you want to like kill a group of guys, that's kind of cute. But you don't really kill them because you don't do that much damage with it. I don't really like this one much. And then we have Chaotic Flurry. It does okay damage, and okay shield damage, but compared to Brutal Barrage, which doesn't have all this fancy crap, it's not so good. Now, the thing about this is that it can interrupt orange moves, but when it comes to interrupting orange moves, I prefer to rely on something that costs less, like Power Shot. Now, Power Shot doesn't do much. It's built just to interrupt, but Power Shot, well, you can shoot it from a distance, and it's got good coverage. You can also hit enemies in the air better. Not unless they jump really high, but then no moves can really deal with it. In terms of interrupt skills, in general, I would just stick with the Power Shot. The Palm Strike is really good for its cost. But the problem with the Palm Strike is that its range is very limited. Oftentimes when I was fighting Lu Bu in the demo, I run into problems where, oh, hey, my Palm Strike didn't interrupt them. Oops, guess I'll die. So Palm Strike is something you would use in the beginning, a ton, before you get towards Power Shot. As you can see that I mastered it. But, you know, eventually once I get Power Shot and enough bravery, max bravery, to use it, I just use it all the time. It's like, it's far more reliable than Palm Strike, as much as I would like to stick with Palm Strike. Of course, now it doesn't even matter because I have the Disc of Huanglong. Now it'll be reduced to 1, and I don't think you can make Palm Strike infinite. I don't think it, unless it does. In which case, it might be. Nah, I'd probably still use Power Shot. But yeah, Palm Strike does not get reduced to 0. So, in other words, Disc of Huanglong makes anything that costs 2 or 3 into something really amazing. War God Sash, on the other hand, is garbage. 500 coins, and all I got was garbage. But anyway, we will view this from its base cost, because Disc of Huanglong is a bit of a late game unlock. It'll take you a while before you get there. You should really customize yourself if you're, you know, not that far into the game. Especially for my friends who wanted me to make this guide, when I was thinking to myself, you know, the algorithm isn't favoring me on YouTube lately. I really can't be bothered. But screw it. I decided that I'll give him a hand, and that's why we're here today. Anyway, Soaring Sky Dance and Vaulting Leap are very cute moves, but they don't really do much. I used that on Zhou Yu once, and I'm like, well, okay, I go up in the air, alright? I do a little bit of damage, I can do that. But it doesn't do much damage, especially if you're playing on Ultimate Warrior difficulty, as I do. It's basically throwing away 1 bravery for no reason. I would not recommend this. And yeah, back in the whole thing with Chaotic Flurry, interrupts should always be something that doesn't cost that much. There is some exceptions, but in general, I wouldn't do an interrupt like this, especially one where you have to run forward on top of that. Imagine if you whiff. Oh boy, that'll be the worst. So a quick shot from Power Shot will seal the deal, and you should never look anywhere else. But with one major exception, but I'll cover that later. Anyway, Soaring Sky Dance is the same thing as Vaulting Leap, in which case you do more damage, and you can combo it with that as well, but I don't really like it that much, honestly. As you can see, I have this thing where I really don't favor things that, you know, are too fancy. Shooting you up in the air and getting a couple more hits is great, except the part where you could end up getting hit in the side by some weird soldiers, and that's if you even get them up in the first place. If the enemy cannot be staggered at the time, then, well, you're stuck in the air, and you're a sitting duck. Brutal Barrage does not do that. Brutal Barrage, even if the enemy cannot be currently staggered at the moment, you can do your damage quickly, and then get out of there. It is an extremely good move. I still cannot emphasize this enough. I've been talking about Brutal Barrage for like a good 10 minutes just because of how good it is. Shadow Step, I didn't use it, but I don't really care for it either. See, look here. You spend 2 for what? Just to get up over there? I mean, and it's really not that good. It doesn't do much damage. And anything that doesn't do much damage, I don't really care for. This is kind of good, but in the end, I didn't like it that much. It actually is one of those weapon skills that kind of emphasize the use of a staff's repeated attack. See, the way they build staff, just like its intrinsic ability, is to have you hit people as often as possible. Now, Brutal Barrage is good in that matter because it costs as little. Tiger Paw Pash, not so good, because it costs you 4 initially, and then if you want to charge for more, chances are you won't be able to afford it. It's also kind of like I don't know. I don't really like the way it swings. I prefer the way it just Brutal Barrage is focusing on the front. So after using it once and charging it and all that stuff, I decided that no, this is not worth it because there are better options if you want to break someone and with a high cost attack. This here is pretty good. This I like. I didn't use it that much, but if I want to kill a crowd of enemies and get the battle art skills, like they're the battle arts training. You know how like officers will come to you and ask you for training and stuff like that? Well, something that kills crowd like that will fulfill it pretty nicely. But other than that, I don't know. See, the thing with Dynasty Warriors Origins, I find is that battle arts is better if they're just focused on using to fight generals. Fighting crowds is not really a big deal because the crowds, they don't really do that much damage. They're annoying, but they don't do that much damage. They don't even like interrupt you either, unless you know they're orange. But if they're orange, this skill won't save you either. You would have to use a interrupt skill. So when a time comes like that, I really don't see the point in using a skill like this unless, for example, we're doing that training mission. So, like even against an officer, you would prefer to use something like, well, like Brutal Strike. This is just for crowd clearing, so I don't recommend it outside of using it for the training. This here is pretty cool, but that's about it. Yeah, it's cool. It looks cool, but costing 5 doesn't do that much damage. And of course, there's also the part where you will whiff the shockwave. Yeah, I don't like it that much. This here, though, oh, this here is good. Oh boy, this I like. Not because it's amazing or anything like that, but see, the thing is that when it comes to using weapons and in Ultimate Warrior difficulty, I need to have a single skill that allows me to break guards really quickly. Now, before my Brutal Barrage gets upgraded, thanks to the Disc of Huanglong, I would have to rely on something like Furious Tiger Dance to break someone in a short time. Because even if I were to spam Brutal Barrage like 2 or 3 times, I would use up all my points and I won't have broken the enemy. Especially if I'm using Musou Rage. But Furious Tiger Dance, I can at least use it twice during a Musou Rage, and that's more than enough. Generally, once is enough to break an enemy's guard and stop them from using their Musou Rage of their own. If you can do that, you really should consider carrying Furious Tiger Dance or anything that has a high bravery cost to break them. Like, there's other skills you could use as well that aren't part of a weapon, but they all have their issues. Like, Ice Luen doesn't even break that hard. I looked into it, I used it a couple times, it didn't break that hard. There are many times where it disappointed me, and it's also very, very expensive. Peacebringer is nice, but it has a bit of an awkward delay where you have to toss that thing first, and then there's that thing where they gush out from the bottom. If the enemy can't be staggered at the moment, you could end up getting hit, but it's an option. Now, Final Flash, I like this one a lot, but it has some issues as well. I don't think it really does that much damage, and it doesn't do it fast enough. Tempest Dance, that's a crowd clearing skill. It could be useful to pick us up an officer when he's staggerable, though. But generally, when I fight officers, I don't think of them as staggerable. Usually, like when someone is staggerable, the other dude isn't, and then they hit you in the face. It's really annoying when it comes down to it. But that's pretty much my whole deal with Staff. It's an okay weapon, but Brutal Barrage seals the deal, and why it makes it into a B rank weapon in my book. But the reason why it's B rather than like the top tier weapons is because there are many weapons that are, well, that does things better. On the other hand, I say that Staff may be the worst, but I don't know. Gloves aren't that great either. I love gloves. I mean, I love the stances and all that stuff like that, but in the end of the day, the stances are kind of all superfluous. Doesn't really matter. Now, in terms of things that we use, elbow strike, not a very good move at all. Unfortunately, it's not something like Brutal Barrage. You know, I keep talking about Brutal Barrage, it's just that good. I love that move so much. It's the whole reason why Staff, despite my misgivings about it, remains a very powerful weapon, and why I maxed it out. Well, I would have maxed it out regardless anyway, but you know, it was a pleasure using Brutal Barrage, I'll just say that. Anyway, elbow strike is nothing like that. It's just a quick blow, and as a result, not a good move. Stone Strike Blast. This one I like. This one I like quite a bit. There's a much better version later that Crescent Blade uses, but this isn't bad because you do good solid damage to the enemy, and you also push back a bunch of guys in the back. So use that against a multitude of officers, and you can buy yourself a moment of reprieve. Not Brutal Barrage though. Well, and here we are, another technique of which we can interrupt someone. This one is more reliable compared to that, and more damaging compared to that of others, but problem, as you know, with interrupt skills, I prefer to keep them at 2, because if you can't afford it at the moment, you're gonna run into problems. Even power shots cost of 2 is already making me sweaty. Like, it's just, if possible, I like them to be as cheap and as reliable as ever, because orange moves are no good. Especially, you know, when soldiers are coming to you with those things. You want to be on hand for it at all times, and you want to be ready to interrupt multiple people in different angles at all times. Let's see now. Maw of the Tiger. I didn't actually use that, but it's a counter-attack move. Counter-attack moves are really cute because you're basically safe during the duration of the counter stance. Of course, there's times where people don't attack you during the counter, in which case, well, you basically just wasted your energy. Still, when it comes to these counter skills, I don't know. I think the rhythm with this game is about timing an attack after an enemy's attack. So what happens with this is that this is a low skill technique. Like, you could just use this, and then, you know, you'll do some free damage and everything will be fine. But what if you were to just simply dodge yourself and then counter with a more brutal attack, such as, I don't know, Brutal Barrage? Yeah, you could do that instead, or you could do this and do less damage and less break. I don't know. I think I'm on the side of Brutal Barrage, because if you dodge properly, you don't have to use a training wheel like this. You can just dodge, get some more bravery, and then Brutal Barrage people to nothing. Yeah. Oh, this here. Well, you know what I think about crowd clearing skills. Flying Kick! It's a cute move. This one I like, but I don't use, because I never really needed anything like that. It's one of these moves you use an escape move to get out of certain situations, but I never really care because I can just dodge my way to victory. I mean, you know, there are times where I get stabbed in the ass, and then, you know, from an unexpected angle, and then my dead body flies like 10 feet forward, and I die. But, you know, even with this skill, you wouldn't be able to survive it, because you would know when it'll pop out, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, well, this is pretty cool. See, look here. There are a lot of skills in this game, which cost us like 2, that are based off of your weapons and special ability. The staff is very simple, so it didn't really have anything that kind of like that. Staff instead has other ways of doing it, such as spammable moves. But this one, you can use it to take stances quickly and do funny moves like that. These are really good moves. I just don't usually do that because I don't really care about the weapon's intrinsic abilities all that much. Like, I really like stances. I think they're really cool. But I prefer, when I'm fighting, to unleash a quick move like this and get the job done. Now, a quick move like this, see, the difference between a crowd clearing move like Hurricane Kick and Wrath of Earth is that Wrath of Earth comes out in one blow and it slows down some time around the area. Not to mention it does tons of damage. So a move like this is very, very nice, especially if you get your bravery requirement reduced thanks to mastering it. Crush their guards, a multitude of enemies. Now, the important thing about doing this to multiple enemies is because, like, a lot of times you're fighting, like, say, oh, you know, brave Lubu officer or you know, wise Lubu officers, or, like, you know, a bunch of other regular officers, like Lubu himself, for example. So, if you were to do that, you break one of those brave Lubu officers who only have, like, 2 shields, you can immediately go into a finishing, or what do they call them in this game, assault or something like that. You can go into one of those finishing animations that get free damage off of the other officers around the area, including Lubu himself. So that is why a high-powered move like this is favored. Now, Hurricane Kick issue is that you have to do multiple hits, and on top of that, it only, like, chips shields a little bit, as opposed to something more solid and comes out all at once. This, oh, I love this so much. I almost mastered it. I should probably do that soon. Well, this doesn't really take much explanation. It's a grab, so no matter what the enemy is doing, they could be, like, even in their red phase, you know, with the unblockable attacks and stuff like that, and uninterruptible, except for grabs like this. If you grab them, they could be as red as they want, you'll still do this to them. Grab moves are king, and this right here is why this weapon is good, because you can do that. It's not better than the other weapons, but it's a good weapon because you can grab. Grabbing is absolutely essential. You can use it. You can, instead of, you know, like someone's glowing orange, instead of using a stone, instead of using a power shot or something, you can, or ardent energy strike, you can just interrupt them right there. Like I said, red moves are the same thing. So it basically fits all kinds of purposes. Of course, you can whiff it if you somehow are not close enough for that kick that it does. You have to connect the kick, otherwise you will just whiff it and waste 8 energy. That's a harsh penalty. But I don't think that's a problem. Most officers, especially if they're using like a red or orange move, is stand still for like a second for you to punish them. Outside of those moments, of course, I mean, it's still a very powerful move. You can just trigger it anytime you want, and it does tons of damage, tons of shield damage. It's one of those funny moves that you use to kill someone who is currently enjoying a Musou Rage buff. And of course, if you're in your own Musou Rage, you can spam it 2 to 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. 3 times is probably your limit. No, 2. 3 is for Huangai. 2 is for you. Yeah. So what happened is when you switch to a different character, right? You get max bravery, and then you can use that skill once, but then you can't use it again until this character that you switch to, namely Huangai this time, enters his own Musou Rage. And once he does that, he can spam it 2 more times before he runs out of time and have to use his Musou attack. So you can do this 3 times if you're using a character like that. And honestly, 1 is enough for most people. 2 is for like Lubu and stuff like that. So, you know, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But it's also a great finisher if you needed to build up for whatever reason, because you don't have enough points. You just build it up and then, well, do a power bomb and ruin their day. That's basically the theme, honestly, of like the weapons that I'll be covering today. This one is pretty good too. seeing that it costs 5, I make good use of it. It can become 2 hits or 3 hits. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if it's 2 or 3 hits, but I prefer it to be 2, so it can be faster. I don't think the damage is that much different though. But since I have Wrath of Earth unlocked, I don't know, I guess I don't use it as much as I should, but I still have it on my list. I guess I could master it. But Wrath of Earth just comes out like that, and I don't have to worry about any more additional inputs or stuff like that. Yeah, reduce damage taken. Now, if the Mastery allows you to do more damage, or more shield damage, I would have been more amendable to it. But honestly, you don't really need Raging Tiger Rampage once you have Wrath of Earth maxed out. Alright, what else is there? Let's see. I mean, there are these other skills that I don't even use, because they're no good. Alright, let's see. So, yeah, Fist and Staff, I would tier them the same, around like B. Hell, maybe even A. Honestly, like all these weapons are above average. I don't really see an issue with them. And the last one of this tier is Lance. Lance is actually a lot of fun. The Zhang Fei Spear. Now, charging down an attack, taking massive punishment, and then repaying it double is a great style. I like it a lot. But the problem with that is that you still have to wait for your HP to regenerate. Like, what happened with the damage that you absorb is that you still have to pay it back. You still have to recharge it. It just becomes gray health. So if you stand still for a bit, you regenerate it. But in the heat of battle, you're gonna get hit multiple times. Even after you clear the screen for the moment, you'll still have to worry about getting hit. Now, there are some skills that can help you with this. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so the initial mechanics of this game is why I like the Lance, but in practice, the Lance is not so good. Mainly because of the whole, having the repay damage thing. But the other thing is that it doesn't do anything for like enemies' orange attacks or red attacks. So if you see those coming, you have to quickly get out of your damage absorption mode and interrupt them. And that would be kind of unfortunate, because sometimes an officer or something else would have gotten a few hits on you already, and you have no choice but to give up on the damage that you absorbed in order to interrupt an orange attack, or in the worst case, you don't have enough points to interrupt said attack. So Zhang Fei's weapon, while really fun to use, is not a very good Ultimate Warrior weapon, in my opinion. In fact, I say Staff was the weakest. Maybe Lance might even be the weaker one. It's still, in my opinion, a very B weapon, but I don't know. Those problems makes it really hard for me to use on the higher difficulties. Lower difficulties, though, oh man, use it all the time. Just keep charging up, and if you get punished, no big deal. You'll probably live through it. But on the harder difficulties, I don't know. Anyway, let's go with the skills now. So I used the skills quite a bit because it came packaged with default. It looked really nice, but as I later discovered, it's shit. It's absolute garbage. First of all, it costs 3. Second, it doesn't do much shield damage. And 3, it keeps you standing still like this. You're not moving anywhere. And you're also spending like a good 3 seconds maybe was twirling that thing around. So if you're not breaking them, you're not moving, you're basically a sitting duck. You're free to take damage from other officers, and they will not stagger, because half the time they do not do that. It's mainly for crowd clearing, but as you can see, since you're not moving, only enemies that comes forward towards you really matters. So it's not good for officers, and it's not good for crowds. This move sucks. This here Well, quick strike. I wouldn't use it. This one is what I use for crowd clearing for a bit. It does okay damage, I guess, for against an officer, but honestly, I only used it to clear up some crowds for the training missions. Focus will. Okay, see, this is the one that I was talking about, the one that helps you with recovering borrowed health. It would normally take you a little bit, but if you use this, you're going to gain it back immediately. However, why would I do that? It costs us 3 to use. That is already a very, very bad thing. It's not like you're damaging anyone with it. You're just raising your arm and recovering your health. It's great if it doesn't cost 3. If it costs like 2 or 1, then it would have been fine. But, you know, like other moves like this, where it focuses on a weapon's characteristics, you would do a strike of some sort. But this one, you don't even hit anyone. So you're basically just raising your arm and restoring health. It's cute, but it really is not that great. Costing 3 is what seals the deal. Why I never used it. This here. Ooh, I like this one. Now, it doesn't do all that much damage, but the thing is that it drops these funny rocks afterwards, so you can do your weapon's intrinsic charge. What should I call it? I'll call it bide. So you can use your Biden with this. So you can bide all these damage, and then you can use your red charge attacks. Thanks to being able to get debris to hit you instead. It's cute. And it allows you to use your mechanics well. So I like this move, but I also kind of don't, because it costs us 5. The damage itself isn't that much. Now I could use it to do the red move, but the red moves themselves aren't like, I don't know. They have issues. Like I said before, like you can get interrupted by orange or red moves of other enemies. And you're still taking damage. You're taking more damage now that you're hitting yourself. It's really worrisome when it comes to fighting like that. Now, if there's a life leech mechanic, oh boy, Zhang Fei would be really nice. There is a couple, but it requires you to use a gem, and it requires you to kill a certain amount of officers or soldiers, but I'm not a fan of those. And even with those kind of life leech, there are better options. It doesn't do enough damage. Like when I am trying to break an enemy, because like on Ultimate Warrior difficulty, the real issue, honestly, is just having something that can break an enemy quicker before they use their Musou Rage. So things like this, it doesn't really fulfill that for me. This here is nice. I like that. See, look here. You can absorb attacks without using your triangle, it appears. I originally thought that allowing you to endure all attacks meant that you could endure like the orange and red moves. Turns out you can't. It's just for something like this. So, while it's nice and gives you freedom of movement, in the end I dropped it. I switched over to using something else. It is cute though. I honestly was hoping that it would also absorb, well, endure all attacks like you know, orange and red as well, but nope, that's not how it worked. This is a cool move. I like this one. I used it a few times because I could use it to interrupt, and when I'm not using it to interrupt, I could still grab onto someone and slam them on the ground, doing some AoE damage to the guy, to another officer if they happen to be nearby. The reason for this is because it does good damage, and it, you know, you see good shield damage, and it does the interrupt. But otherwise, I still wouldn't really use it, especially for the whole interrupt purpose. That's why, despite the fact that I do like using it for fun, I'd probably just keep Power Shot and switch to something else. This one I like a bit. Vengeful Stormquake, as you can see, is something that you can use it to absorb enemy attacks then pay it back double if they can constantly attack you. However, if you hold on to this move and the enemy is not currently attacking you and you're knocking them back with it, there's a good chance you'll whiff after like 2 or 3 swings. So while this move is nice, it has some problems. But it is really nice though, like especially if you mastered it, because you take less damage and you don't even stagger. You can just do this all day, and anyone who's aggressive will pay the price. But again, if you're using it on someone who's already staggered by you for whatever reason, they could get knocked out of the ring, and it'll be a completely useless move. But if they are aggressive, like this example shows, oh boy, you'll be breaking them quite nicely. So if you ever see someone you can't stagger, and it's not doing a ton of damage at the time, you can do that. In fact, Vengeful Stormquake would be a good item to pair with this item, Vajra's armor. You pair it with that, then you won't be taking much damage at all while you're doing this. So I would actually consider that a powerful technique, a powerful combo that you could use with the lads, Zhang Fei Spear, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I should try doing that. I actually didn't even think of doing that, to be honest. I just use it raw with my original items. Because see, the thing is that you only have 2 slots for items, right? So instead of like getting defensive stuff, I prefer to get more attacking stuff, more damaging things, because the enemies are really tanky and ultimate, and they do a lot of damage. The faster you get rid of them, the better. Especially now that I have unlocked the Disc of Huanglong, which reduces everything by 1, it becomes even harder to use Vajras. Whereas before, I guess I could have used Vajras with like an attacking item. I guess that could have worked. But there's also another problem with that, and that is that there's, I think, more solid defense options as well that doesn't require you to be using battle arts. But anyway, you know, it doesn't really matter, because that's talking about items, and this isn't a guide about items. I'm just musing myself with what could have been done, and I think that a solid damage reduction with Vengeful Stormquake is cool, very, very cool. Considering the mastery it allows you to reduce, but they really should tell you how much they reduce. It would make my decision a lot better. During my use of it, while it's mastered, I felt that I take less damage, but not quite enough. And when you're swinging around, holding the button and using bravery, it does drain relatively quick, so I have to let it go before the enemy starts staggering and I start whiffing the attack. So I can't get an accurate gauge of how much damage I'm actually reducing, but from the feeling of it, it's worth the risk. But I don't know, like anything in ultimate difficulty, I try not to get hit, period. So that's what makes Zhang Fei's spear, instead of like an A weapon or A+, it's more of a B for me. Because it's less reliant on your dodge and reaction time. It's more about its funny mechanics that causes you to take hits. And taking hits on enemies that do so much damage, it can be problematic. Like, even after releasing a skill like this, you want to take a little bit of time to recover your health. And so, skills like this, not so good. This here, though, This here it's the epiphany of all things with this weapon. Now, instead of losing temporary health, you're losing real health to do more damage. I like this. I think it's really cute because it's a very powerful attack. But as you can see, you're losing health. And health could be a premium at some point when you're fighting on ultimate difficulty. Like, no matter how skilled you are, if you're fighting like in a huge crowd and stuff like that, you oftentimes will take hits that you cannot deal with. And the problem with Inner Fire Fury is that not only does it use up your health as you're holding down the button, but you're standing still, swinging these things in every direction, and if you find an opponent that can't stagger or is using an orange move or something like that, you're in trouble. You have to break out of it, and you end up losing health for nothing. So, that's another skill that I don't really recommend. Now the main problem as a result with this weapon, and why I might even rate it even lower than staff. Honestly, I really should rate it lower than staff, because it doesn't have a powerful many SP guard breaking moves. I may have to replace it with like Ice Luen or Peacebringer or something like that, so that I can reliably break an enemy's guard. I mean, I could just spam the whatchamacallit, that funny move. I could just spam Vengeful Stormquake and just stand still for a bit there and break their guard, but it's not that good. It really isn't. When it comes to breaking guards in a short amount of times, you really want to get something that just deals a chunk of damage. And quick, too. So you may have to use these two bad guys and fill what Zhangfei Spears lack. But those guys aren't even that great. I like these moves, they're cute, but they're not that great. Some of the base moves from the other weapons later that we will discuss far surpasses them. And they don't even cost all that much. Alright, so these are the initial weapons that I've covered, the B rank ones. Now we will go into like A rank, or like, honestly S rank should just be Halberd. I don't think like anything could come close to how good Halberd is. But alright, why don't we go with Sword, the old reliable. It's a beginner's weapon. You come with it. It's quick. It's got the pursuit ability. So when you use a charge attack, you can quickly follow up with another charge attack, doing a little bit extra damage. But the problem I find with Sword is that oftentimes that's not enough. Alright, so anyway, like I said before about these 2 call skills, they're okay. They're quick strikes, but quick strikes for 2 bravery is not worth it. I would not bother. I only used it because it's what I came with, and I guess it kind of kills Peon, sort of okay, but honestly, it's not a move you want to waste your bravery on. If not for the bravery system, you know, some of these skills would, I suppose, find more use, but because bravery is at a premium sometimes, you want to make sure that whenever you use your bravery, it's impactful. This here was the move that I use for a bit when I need to break an enemy's guard initially, because that's all I had. But it's not a very solid move. It's not like, it certainly isn't like our pal Brutal Barrage. It takes a bit of time to come out. See here? This one is even worse than the other moves that we saw earlier that interrupts. Because you have to be kind of close and you have to move forward to an enemy in order to do this interrupt. Do a little bit more damage for interrupt is not worth it. This here is a crowd clearing move. Pretty cute. Used it 10 times for the I used it 10 times for the skill things, and that was it. This thing here is just a quick move. Not useful either. This guy here, not bad. I used it a few times with Guo Jia when he uses it, but there's a chance of you whiffing with this move as well. This one though, oh boy, this is the premier shield breaking move. I spam it all day in Musou Rage or friendly officer Musou Rage to remove the enemy's shields for their Musou Rage. Or if, you know, I just want to break someone's shield really quickly. But yeah, it's got good AoE coverage, good shield break. You can't go wrong with this move. Very, very good move. The Shadow Dance is really fun too. You summon a shadow that just keeps attacking and attacking and attacking and doing shield damage to the enemy. Very fun move, and especially if you combine your own attack. So basically what happens is that you can like use that, move away while the enemy is using like a complicated move at the moment. They can orange or red move. You can constantly do damage to them despite this. But generally, I just summon it and I gang up with my shield and break them. Again, I'm going to gang up with my shadow and break their shield as quickly as possible. And I told you about how I feel about counter moves. Tornado Dance. This is a very fun move. You let her rip like a bee-blade and spin around. And since you have good control around it, you can just twirl around an officer and do tons of shield damage. And on top of that, any soldiers nearby, I guess any officers as well, will end up getting sheared by that spin. You can spin for quite a bit of time. So, I like using this move. This is a good move. I haven't mastered it yet, but it doesn't really matter. It comes out fast enough as it is. All in all, sword is a very reliable weapon. You could use for any situations, and since the moves comes out snappy and quick, you don't have anything you need to really worry about. And since it has a good high shield breaking skill, it's got literally everything you need to win the game with. But it's also kind of average as a result. It doesn't have anything that particularly stand out, but it has a tool for everything. That, I think, is what makes a good weapon. Now, Pudao is another weapon I rank around this. Now, a lot of people rank Pudao less because Pudao has charging mechanics. It takes a while to get moves to come out, but you could just kind of ignore it. You don't have to use your charge Pudao attacks. But honestly, even when an enemy is staggered normally, you could just charge and you could hit them, and you have plenty of time to do it. I don't really recommend it because you're kind of just standing there, and I guess you can move around and use the dodge button to move around while you're charging. But I don't think the damage is all that great after you've staggered someone. Rather, instead of using a charge attack and swinging at someone, you definitely have the opportunity to. Because, yeah, when an enemy's staggered, they stagger for a while. Even Lu Bu, he would get dizzy for a bit, and you have plenty of time to charge him and attack. But the problem with this is that you want to be using normal attacks to build up bravery. When someone is falling over and stuff like that, you want to get as many hits in as you can and build up your bravery so that you can use the battle arts. I know it's simplifying this game a bit and removing a lot of the colorful details about this game. There's 10 different weapons, and they all have unique abilities. But a lot of the times, unique abilities aren't worth it. Like the staff, for example, you twirl, you don't do much damage. It's made to break shields, but it doesn't even do it that fast. And you're basically making yourself open to attacks. Whereas you could be, instead dodging attacks, build up bravery, and spamming Brutal Barrage. Anyway, so as a result, let's talk about battle arts. I'm going to say this first one, the Sea of Flames, to be an amazing battle arts, and the one sole exception I have for Power Shot, because I was using this when I was fighting Lu Bu initially in his very first battle in Luoyang in Dong Zhuo's assassination. No, I was using this no, I didn't use this in the demo, but I did use Pull Down in the demo, but I definitely had another attack, and I remember what it was now. Yeah, it was this. Yeah. This was cool. But honestly, this is better. Sea of Flames is much better. And if you were to use it with the Luen, you can build up a decent amount of dots on the area. It's pretty cute, I say. I don't really think that's a good idea. I think you should just be using this to interrupt, because, see, what happened with this is that, the reason why I'm foaming over this is because I didn't have Power Shot at the time when I was fighting, for one reason or another. I think because Power Shot requires you to be in one of the tables, and I didn't have the skill points at the moment to use it, to get it at the time. So I had to use Palm Strike. And Palm Strike, as you know, doesn't reach sometimes. This this guy here does reach, and reaches quite a bit of distance as well. So when you're interrupting enemies, not only are they interrupted, but you're also cooking them, doing pretty decent damage to their shields and to their health. Sea of Flames is a very good move. Though once I unlock Power Shot, I am unfortunately not using it much anymore. But the duration that I had it, it was great. Dragon Sweep Slash, well, that's a crowd move. Costs only 2, not that much damage, yada yada. I don't like this one. I used it during the demo, so I didn't use it here. But as you can see, you have to run up to someone and you do a sky dash. Anything fancy that takes a while to execute, it just means more chances for you to get hit. And this one has a good opportunity for you to not just get hit, but get counterattacked, whiff the attack. There's all kinds of bad things that can happen in the duration. I don't like this move at all. It doesn't do enough damage to justify it. Now, if it were something that does more damage, I can kind of see that it would be okay. But as it is right now, it is not a good move. So I never use it. This guy here is pretty cute. So you charge up a Barrier Wind. Now, it's cute because soldiers can't hit you during the duration, and officers that are currently staggerable will be affected by this wind. But of course, that's only if they're staggerable. And if they're staggerable, you should be hitting them instead of worrying about this. You use this skill so that you can prevent enemies from interrupting you while you're using a charge attack. But if you're not interrupting things that actually matters, what is the point? So this move is kind of shitty. You shouldn't bother with it. This guy here, though, I like this move very, very much. I used it with Xiahou once, and I'm like, yep, okay, yep, this is my premier shield breaking technique. And as you can see, you're focusing all your attack on that one general and pounding them with a series of stabs. Very, very nice move. I love this move very much for my shield breaking techniques. It's my brutal strike of this weapon. Though maybe not, because it costs 5. But if you connect with it, it might as well be 2 brutal strikes, in my opinion. This guy, well, I told you how I felt about that. It looks really cool. It does good damage, but I don't really use it much these days because there are better moves, and I only have 4 at the moment. This is useful if you want to be like, you know, charging attacks better. I don't bother with it though, especially since it costs 2. This guy though, oh my god. See this thing here? You release such a large wave and you do so much damage. If you're fighting a massive number of enemies at once, you can deal some serious damage across the whole board. Now the problem with this is that you're easily interruptible. You can take tons of damage in the duration, but it doesn't matter if you were to hide yourself away and look for a straight line to attack. You don't always get attacked by enemies, so while your allies are distracting them, charge up for a few seconds and unleash the biggest wave possible. I've seen this move used a couple times for characters such as like Ranmaru in like the original Samurai Warriors and Nobunaga in Samurai Warriors 5. Very, very fun move. I absolutely love moves like these that creates a huge wave. Sideways, by the way, none of that forward wave stuff. Sideway waves are the best. And man, does it get huge too. Jesus Christ. You kill like, it's a crowd control skill. You kill everything. It's like a miniature bomb. It's like a miniature Musou if you get it off. Of course, it also costs 7 and, you know, requires you to take time to charge it, but my god, once you get it out, it is the most disgusting thing ever, and I absolutely love it. On the other hand, we have things like this. This is cute, but again, as I said, anything that requires multiple hits and takes you time to use is not that good. This here, though, oh man, I love this one. This one is basically Zhang Fei's mechanic, where he can tank attacks and unleash a powerful retaliation. But you see, the thing is that this guy here does a lot of damage. So it's worth building up for its 3 costs. So for the time, you know, I was using Immortal Blade. I merely changed it to the shield move because I had to test it out, and it was the wind shield move, and it turns out to be kind of shitty. I didn't like it at all. Well, and that's about it for Podao. But man, you should really give the Podao a try. It really isn't that slow. If you just, like, you know, use moves like these, you're basically fine. You don't have to use a charge attack. And if you do, just use it strategically with this Ardent Aura Slash and wipe out an entire field. I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed once you unleash the whole thing. Oh my god, it is so good. Oh, and if you're in Musou Rage yourself already, you're immune to damage, so you can just charge all day with no penalty. Absolutely amazing. And finally, the last weapon of this rank is Crescent Blade. Now, Crescent Blade's ability is very, very solid. Crescent Blade basically is where you attack people a certain amount of times. You build up a special thing called an upgrade, I suppose, where your weapon turns white or green, and then if you use a charge attack at this time, you do more damage. It rewards you for playing carefully, which is what this game should be. You know, instead of like how Zhang Fei does it, where he takes damage all day and then repay it, you do it more artfully. You dodge attacks and you pay him back double. It's very, very good. So, how this weapon is, man, there are a lot of battle arts that actually features this upgrade ability that I was just talking about. Now, initially, oops, what did I have that move for? Oh shit! Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I know what I use. Yeah, I was using this Star Thunder Slash, I think. Anyway, so initially, I love this move, the Bursting Wave Slash. Why is that? Because when you hit someone with it, they get carried along with the wave and take a lot of damage. I was using that to fight Yu initially, but the problem I discovered afterwards is that if the enemy is not staggerable, the wave travels through them, and then a lot of damage is ignored. So for its cost of 4, that is a death sentence. It pretty much ruined my fight with Yu because I keep wasting it and doing no damage. So my first fight with him in Xia, where I have to finish him off, was a disaster because this doesn't do damage, because the waves just simply pass through him. It did a little bit of damage, I suppose, while it's passing through him, but afterwards it was no good. So anything that doesn't stagger, no good. And besides which, there's that problem where, you know, I was just talking about that earlier. It's a wave that's vertical. I prefer waves that are horizontal. Covers more area. This wave here, nah. It looked really cool though initially when I first started using the Crescent Blade. This here's a reliable guard breaking skill, man. Good crowd damaging skill as well, especially on the last hit. So I use that quite a bit, as you can see with me mastering it. This here is really good, but it also kind of sucks. So you can see with the upgraded attack, right? You do the extra twirl, and then you do a slash. You do a ton of damage for a 2 bravery move. So it's worth it if you have the upgrade at the time, and you can do a ton of extra damage. But there's a problem with this. While you're doing that and twirling around, you're taking a lot of extra hits, and your character has to go through the animation to deliver the full bonus damage that you've just gained. So while that's going on, guess what? You're getting hit, and that is no good. I find a lot of times where my attacks just get interrupted, or I just take a chunk of damage that I normally wouldn't have because I'm using this. But it's good value with bravery is worth looking at. If you're in a good position where, you know, you're beating someone and he's being staggered in front of you, then sure, it's just not too good against multiple officers. But then again, what really is, right? Mistwalk I never use, because thing is that if I'm going to be using a move that's specifically for dodging, I might as well just dodge. The point of this move is to give you an upgrade level, but I'd much rather gain it naturally. It's not worth the 2 bravery. It's not worth the timing of using it to get such a thing. It's a waste of your resources when you could just be dodging instead and gaining more resources. It's a very backward technique. Here, this move is just the same as I described with other interrupt moves that I would much rather use Power Shot with, but this one does do decent damage, or it appears. But I never use it because I have Power Shot since then. What about... Well, then again, there is maybe one advantage. Now I look at it. It might have some extra height on the last hit, so that enemies that position themselves really, really high up in the air while using their orange attack, which is basically just Yu Bu. I've never seen anyone else jump that high when they use a technique. You may be able to interrupt them. I've never tried it because, well, first of all, it costs us 3. And second, it's on the last hit, so you might end up not being able to do it. Because he jumps really high, and I don't think the diagonal slash can do it. You can only do it with the last one. So you probably will end up getting hit. Yeah, you know what? That's another problem. You know, these slow swings is a bit of a problem. If you end up whiffing it, you're basically a sitting duck. No, I don't like this. Power Shot is good. And you know what? That high jumping orange move that Yu Bu does, I can simply dodge it and then Power Shot him after. Because it's a 2-parter, by the way. He jumps up high in the air, orange, comes down, does an AoE attack, and then he charges up for another AoE attack. So you want to interrupt both. What is this now? Oh, this is cute. Yes, this is cute. So if you don't get hit, you get to increase your upgrade level. That's very faster. That's cute. But, I don't know. Like, the upgrade level thing mechanic with Guan Yu, I think, is more of a bonus rather than something you should really focus on. It's a good thing to use once you have it, but I wouldn't focus too much on it. You know what I mean? This guy here. Well, I didn't use it, and I can see why, because I think once I saw what it actually does, I'm like, yeah, that's cute. You do good damage. You jump up in the air and all that, but that's about it. See, moves like these that starts approaching like 4 to 5 bravery and are good damage and guard breaking and stuff like that, I would prefer them to be more like the Earth Smasher that I showed you with the fist earlier, where you do more damage in the area with multiple officers. Because the problem with Ultimate Warrior difficulty is dealing with multiple officers. So you want to have something that you can use for that, because when they don't stagger, my god, you take so much damage. You can just die outright. And moves like this, where you're doing too many fancy ass stuff and flying up in the air like this, leaves you open. And especially since like the area of which you can actually hit is very limited, it's not a good move. Now, this here is what makes Guan Yu's weapon great, and what makes it the highest around this tier A. Aside from like SSX weapon, which I'll cover next, but this is the highest as a result. Because this is another grab, so just as we were talking about with Feng Guy's power bomb move, where he grabs someone and just tosses them on the ground, you have Great Mountain Throw, where you grab someone, and then afterwards, you blast not just him, but everything behind him for massive damage. Now, it covers pretty much a 180 degrees in front of you. So, if you're facing a bunch of opponents, you're breaking a whole ton of people. It's really, really good move. I absolutely recommend this move. I mastered it like the first thing I did because I use it all the time. And we all know how it is in Ultimate Warrior difficulty. You gotta break them before they use their Musou Rage. It is essential. See, the thing is that if you miss the attack, right, it's not even like the fact that it's dangerous and can do a ton of damage. It's what happens afterwards. They increase their courage. I think that's what the mechanic's called. And making them harder to kill, and making everything around them harder to kill. And that is a larger effect that you really can't deal with. You would want to lower enemy courage. You want to make them easier to kill. On ultimate difficulty, when things are already tanky as it is, you don't want them to get any stronger. I don't use this guy. Why is that? Ah, yes, because I have to tour around and I have to also build up higher upgrade levels in order to use it. Great Mountain Throw? Look. See, look. First of all, see how much area I'm covering with this. Yeah, it does do more damage if you have more upgrade level, but I suspect it's about the same as Great Mountain Throw at its max because it costs less. Great Mountain Throw used to cost like 8, by the way. But I think the other issue is that, well, as you can see with Great Mountain Throw, you're basically blowing up everything in front of you. As your Dragon Bellow, well, doesn't. It's Guan Yu's special, so you know you would think that it'd be better. I mean, if you completely master it, and it may do a little bit more damage, or maybe it just does the exact same as Great Mountain Throw. But at the end of the day, you need to also have an upgrade level and all that. So, and is it worth it? I don't really think so. Divine Energy Domain is a cute move. Oh, that's what I had. Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah, instead of Star Thunder Slash. Yeah, that's what I had. I forgot. I was testing that because I was... See, what happened is that once you're in this zone, you can just always have the ability to unleash your upgraded attacks with the Crescent Blade. So I use that to clear crowds or do extra damage to officers from here and there, as long as I don't get knocked out of this field. It's cool if you want to use Guan Yu's weapons mechanics, but chances are I'm only doing that so I can build up to use this move. That's pretty much it, because this move is the ultimate finishing move. That grab is absolutely amazing. I love it so much. Interrupt enemy and then everything in front of you dies. And it's not even tied to like Guan Yu or anything like that. It's a skill that you get after getting the weapon to like rank 8 or something like that. So you don't even have to go through hoops to get it. It's a great skill. I highly recommend it, and why Crescent Blade ranks highly in my heart. The only reason why it doesn't rank like the absolute highest, well, 1, there's Halberd, and 2, this guy here is very good. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go with this. Now, Spear, that's a very funny move, very funny moveset. I have a real love and hate with the Spear. The thing with Spear is that its normal application kind of sucks ass, like its intrinsic abilities. So basically you get this thing where you get to spam triangle to stab a whole bunch of times, where you stand still and just stab a whole bunch of times. It looks kind of like this, but well, it's not a battle art, it's just a regular move, so it doesn't do that much damage. You're sitting still, and we all know about what I think about that. And not to mention, you also have to do 2 other hits before you start stabbing forward a million times. So those 2 slow-ass hits on top of a barrage that doesn't really do that much damage makes Spear kind of sucks ass in my book for regular use. Now, why is Spear so good? Well, it's battle arts. Now, nothing like this. This is a cool move. Initially, when I first got it, I thought, hey, you know, if I ever want to be 100% safe, I get this. And I told you before about how I feel about counter moves. You just boom, boom. It's great, but it doesn't do much damage. And a lot of times, well, maybe not that much times, you know, if as I see someone about to swing, I could do that. I could just do that and counter, but, you know, I could also just dodge the attack and get more bravery. You know, I could just not stand there like an idiot because the enemy didn't attack and waste time. I mean, 1 bravery is not bad. Like, compared to the other counter skills, this is cheap and effective, but it is still not very good. That's why after, like, the initial early game experience, I stopped using it. I only used this because I needed to do the crowd clearing skill. Crowd clearing skill training. That's all I did. This here, another interrupt that costs us a bit, and because it's a sky attack, it whiffs, and sometimes it's really embarrassing, I have to say. This guy here, same way. Dance at the Whirlwind, well, it's okay, but multi-hit and 5 costs, I don't know, I don't want to trust my life with it, so I never used it. I don't even think it does that much damage, honestly. I used this because this was flashy, but just like the other ones, I stopped using it after a little bit. I think I got it only because I had it, and I used it like a few times, 18 times to be precise, just so I could get a feel for it. But in the end, just like all the other multi-hit that moves, I think there are better things. Yeah, I think I was using this back when I thought that spear was kind of shitty. This here, I'm using right now, was my go-to for quick shield and damage. But then, I unlocked this. And Spyro Pierce is absolutely amazing. It does tons of damage. This guy does so much damage, shield and health damage, that I used it to clear some of the hardest stages in the game. And it can wipe out entire armies if you can get them in the front line. If you can get them in the front. Now compared to like the Earth move that you saw earlier with Guan Yu, or the massive wave that the Bodao does, it doesn't have as much coverage, but my god, if you're in the coverage, you take so much damage, and it comes out quick too. So it is a very, very powerful move. And it's not like a grab, so, you know, like the Earth move that I was telling you, man, there's a chance for you to whiff. Generally you won't, but, you know, there's a chance for it. This here, well, you're not going to whiff that easily unless you're not pointing it at them. But I suppose, being that its coverage isn't that great, you could whiff, but I find that impossible. I at least have never whiffed it. You unlock this with Zhao Yun, and you see enemies use that a lot. It's cute, but I don't really like it that much. Earth Shatter. Now, I like this move a lot. As you can see, it slows down time, and it smashes the area around you. I use this for if I'm surrounded and I can't use Dragon Flash, or I just need something that I can shit out right there and then. But as you can see, it slows down time around you as you do it. Still, if I have a choice, I would rather unleash Dragon Flash and send out the Spyro Pierce. But Earth Shatter is a good move. It does good damage, and it crushes everything around you, and it freezes time at the duration. Very fine move, and that is why I mastered it. Now, even without the mastery, by the way, it comes out quick. So that's another A weapon. As you say with the tiers, like, despite the fact that these are B, B, and B, I think they're close enough to the A's that it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't even know why I'm even ranking these things, because they're all very, very good. They're all above average. It's just that some weapons are more above average than others. Now, the Twin Axe requires a bit of skill to use. Now, the mechanic, as you know, is one where you swing repeatedly. I may have to even do it in a test run to show you. So, generally what happens with the twin axe is that you hit your triangle attack multiple times, and then you start doing this. If you get it right, you create a blue shockwave, which I just did. And it does extra damage and has extra range. But if you don't, like this just now, you only do a little bit of extra damage at the end, and there's no extra range. But when I try to time it, I accidentally hit the start button. But as you can see, it creates a giant gush of damage at the end. You have to time it right before that swirl on your body disappears. See? A lot of training, especially ones involving like Wu or like Gauntlets or something like that, involves you mastering this in order to finish their training. But I appreciated this because it gives me time to practice on this. Like, I don't even get it out all the time. But when I do, though, the feeling is very, very satisfying. Very, very satisfying. Indeed. Honestly, I should have done the virtual battle for all the other weapons that I was just talking about, but... whatever. So, twin axes like that. And that makes it fun to use, because that move that I just did earlier, I just run around and I can kill people quickly without the need of, like, skills or anything. But peons, they don't really matter all that much, so it's whatever. Okay, so in terms of battle arts, Double Bite was my go-to for a bit while I was getting some skills. It does decent damage, and it, it does good crowd damage as well, and so I use it to clear out the crowd for the skill and training. This here doesn't really matter that much. But yes, I did use it a few times to attack and close in on enemies, but that's, whatever. And this here is fun. If the enemy's staggerable, you can suck them up in this whirlwind and buy yourself some time. So a lot of times I use this to kind of control the enemy a bit, because when you're fighting so many enemies at once in Ultimate Warrior, you die. So I try using that from time to time to keep me from having to deal with them while I focus on whatever's immediately around me. This here's another one of those moves that I was telling you about, where you fly up in the air to do funny extra damage and stuff like that, but it also serves as an interrupt, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because of the same reasons I tell you about 3 cost energy, 3 cost bravery interrupt skills. This here is whatever. I could be doing that with a normal charge attack. I don't need to spend 2 bravery for it, and therefore I never use it. Earth Blast. Well, I see enemies use it a lot. I don't really care much for it. So I used it like once, and I guess it could prevent enemy movement, but I don't really care much for it. People usually are all around me, and not just in front of me. Roaring Maelstrom, I use it to keep them stuck in the air longer and do more damage. The Earth Blast is basically like an earth wall that keeps them from coming. Also, like, kind of obscures your vision a little bit, but it's really not, I don't know. Honestly, both of those moves aren't that great, but I think Earth Blast is the weaker one. This here is pretty nice, but I don't use it. It's mainly just for using these charge attacks anyway, and seeing that it costs us 4, very, very difficult to justify. Like, I told you this before, but like a lot of weapons and their mechanics, I try not to use them too much, because in the end of the day, the basics of this game, where you dodge attacks and counter attack with a hard attack, is, I believe, the supreme way to play. Sky Sunder, it's a move that I unlocked later, and I was using it quite a bit too. That thing does a lot of damage. You do 2 hits, and if you time the last attack correctly, which I generally do, you do a massive splash on the ground, and you do extra damage for this skills' cost. Really, really nice move. But there's a problem with this. You're coming down from an angle, so you could whiff the attack. Especially since it's a two-parter. So, as a result, I am not 100% with this, but it is still a good move. And I use it to break many a guards against enemy Musou Rage. Another one I use is this, the Furious Dual Rush. Oh boy. At a cost of merely 3, if you time your last hit correctly, it's basically like a 4 or maybe even a 5 move. But at the low cost of 3, and it comes out really quick. So it's a very nice move for breaking an enemy's armor specifically. This, yeah. Well, I see Zhang Liao uses it a lot, and like, whenever I fight him, he just like twirls around this 3 times, and I think it's kind of cute, but it's not a very effective move. It's just for killing crowds. And crowds, you have many ways to do this, especially with a massive Musou attack. But I like the dual axe because of the charge. This finisher. So satisfying if you get it right. But the problem with using it is that you have to kind of focus a little bit. But it shouldn't be a problem unless you're really tired, I guess. Now, finally, the last weapon of this rank. Oh my god, ring. Oh fuck. That's another weapon that I really should show rather than just talk about, because like if you get it correctly, you get like so many rings. Like this. It's about catching your rings and shitting out new ones. And at some point, you can unleash all kinds of techniques with it, but you have to get the timing right. Take this. An opening. An opening. An opening. Take this. I don't really like this system though, but there are people who do this much better than I do, and I've got good times where I have a bunch of catches with a bunch of rings out in the open and do a massive amount of damage to everything around it. But the problem with techniques like this is that you have to have some focus. Now, I rank this a little bit higher than the axe, even though the dual axe's charge attack is easier to do because twin Tiger Blast. But we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so in terms of battle art, this here is really cute. But that's it. You twirl around and you do good damage to all directions. I used it a lot in initial states when I just got the weapon. This guy, though, I didn't really use all that much, because Triple Tempest, I feel, is a little bit better. This I use a bit, too. After a certain amount of time, the wheels come down and do damage, so you can use that to time combos. But, I don't know. After a certain amount of times, I didn't really use that all that much anymore. It's cute. I really like the way it comes down like that, but it really is... It's not worth the 2 energies when you could just be doing damage outright, you know? I used this a couple times to interrupt enemy attacks and also do more damage because it looks like it does more damage. But it has even worse than the palm strike, because you're standing still to do this. So you whiff this, you not only lost yourself 4 energy, but you also get to die. So I don't like this one all that much, but it was cool when I used it for like 5 times, I guess. I like this one. I like this one a lot. So if you were to catch a blade while this is happening, you shoot out 6 of these guys and do a ton of damage for only 4 energy. Really, really nice. Catching blades isn't that hard, so it's not a big deal, especially since you've got moves like this. Oh, no, that's not the move I'm thinking about. But this is only a cute move that just does a bit of damage. Not even like this is a cool move. Draw it on someone and you pick up the blades. And then you can do something like this. I didn't use it because at the time I think I maxed out the wheels, so I stopped using it. But imagine you use Harvest Moon and you do that. You can do a ton of damage. Very, very nice. Easily, too. But I did use this. See, with this, I can shoot out a ring and it comes back immediately. And then you can immediately use another combo with it. Considering that it only costs 1, it's not too bad. It's very worthwhile. Now, the thing with Harvest Moon and not Tornado Slam, Flying Spirit Wave is as a 2-part attack. Now, what makes it good is that if you have the Huanglong accessory that I was showing you earlier, you can reduce the cost quite a bit for good damage, since it's a 2-parter. But it doesn't really matter, because there are also other skills like this. This guy here is the same way. The wheels come back to you, and you have plenty of opportunities to use those special red wheel attacks. So you're basically using shit like this and shitting out Destructo Disc everywhere, cutting up everything in the area. I don't even know why SSX weapon became so awesome, but it did, and I appreciate this weapon a lot. It's a lot of fun to play. This mechanic makes it very rewarding. Unlike some of the other weapons mechanics, this here, so much fun. I love it. But then, I ended up getting Twin Tiger Blast from SSX herself. It doesn't use any of those mechanics. It's just a badass attack that does a ton of damage in a good area. It costs 8, but what's the big deal, you know? For the damage that it does, and its easy activation without any need for skill or anything like that, you just shit it out, and then a whole bunch of people die. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess now that I have Huanglong unlocked, I would end up using, like, the 2-part skills, like the Harvest Moon and the Flying Spirit Wave, or, like, the six, no, maybe not this anymore, but, yeah, I could do that, and Spirit Wave, but, you know, now that I have Huanglong, I could do that, might be okay, but, I don't know. Twin Tiger Blast is very hard to top. It is so damaging. Oh my god, dude. I don't even know if I would do something as fancy like that when I could just get massive damage at a touch of a button. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole theme about this game. It's like I find that a lot of weapons, while they have cool abilities, they're mostly invalidated by battle arts like this. But yes, that skill alone makes the wheel extremely powerful. Halberd though, the Halberd is just so incredibly strong. So incredibly strong. I have like a specific combo that I have built up for it, and it's so specific that I stopped using it. I stopped using any other combos because it is that good. And it costs cheaply too. Now with the Huanglong thing, even better. So it's a 2-part attack. Oh! Dum, dum, dum. You twirl. 1, 2, 3. Do the sky attack. And by that point they're broken. And you're ready to go and assault them. That's my bread and butter combo for when I use Halberd, and it does massive damage for what it is at cost of like 5. So the combo is Deviant Shockstorm, Defiance Shockstorm, and it's even better now that I mastered it because now I can't get staggered and take less damage. Not that it matters, because usually when I use it, I twirl someone up in the air. So how you activate this combo is you use C3, where you hit someone twice with square, and then use triangle, and then while you're bouncing the enemy between you on the 3rd hit, you use Defiant Shockstorm and knock him up into the air. And afterwards, you hit him 3 times, exactly 3 times, and then execute Sky Blaze. and then you'll do the and then you'll do the skydive and do tons of damage on the enemy, especially if you mastered it. By that point, their gauge would have been broken, and then you can rip them in half. I actually did some counting when I started practicing this combo. Like, I just discovered this combo when I was in the middle of fighting Lu Bu on in Sha Pi, because I needed something that does good damage. Initially, I didn't have Sky Blaze equipped, so I didn't use it, but I did, find good combo opportunities with Defiant Shock Storm. So with these guys, and now with the Disc of Huanglong, I can pretty much just do amazing damage with a mere cost of 4. No, 3. Just 3, because Defiant would be 1, and this would be 2. Yeah, it would be just 3. Instead of the 5 that I initially had to use. Just 3. My god, dude, what a dream. Disc of Huanglong is such an awesome item. I'm going to be using it a lot. I'm probably going to be playing this game again very soon, because I didn't exactly 100% it. There are some things that I kind of skipped over because they're superfluous. But I will do them very soon. I'll probably do it during the day. Alright, so now let's talk about the other skills of this. This here is another interrupt that, well, I don't really recommend all that much. It's a two-parter skill that I see Lu Bu uses a lot. Whereas when Lu Bu uses it, his first strike will stagger you, and then the second hit will guarantee to finish you off. But in this one, in player control, you can grab someone and toss them off like this. So you can use that very funny move on Lu Bu while he's riding red hair, and you literally just toss him right out of red hair, and then you can start beating the shit out of him. But despite all this, I don't like this move because it has limited range and it costs 3. So yeah, I could just use Power Shot instead. Sky Crusher is really nice. It's good for killing crowds, and if you hit the enemy with it, even better. But I don't really use it that much because of my combo. And if I want to clear crowds, I have better options. This I use a few times. I wonder why it only shows Mastery of 1, because I definitely use it more than that. But this one is really nice. Yeah, I don't understand. Why is it only showing 1? Or maybe the times I use it, it wasn't all that successful, so it didn't count, because I ended up switching to something else. Could be that. I don't know. Because I initially use it to boost my damage to fight, like, you know how that one mission in the challenge where you have to defeat Guan Yu before he returns back to the castle? Yeah, I used that to boost my damage to do that. But then it turns out that I have a better way of doing it, and that is to pre-game some damage on him. And then when the event happens, well, he's already pretty much dead, so I never really need it. Yeah, that's probably why I only have like 1 registered mastery to it. I don't really like this move that much because, as you can see, it just stands still for for a bit to activate the skill, and it costs us health. So because of that, I don't know. The other reason is that it takes up a slot, and I have other skills I'd rather be using, like Valiant Steed Blitz, for example. So because of that, I ended up not using this skill all that much, even though it could be useful. But yeah, between the health loss and skill slots and all that, it's really unfortunate. But maybe I'll put it to work later again. And other crowd clearing skills, you know how I feel about that. Peons, they don't really matter. And this doesn't do enough damage to officers to really matter either. And it just leaves you open for no reason. Sky Blaze I told you about as part of the combo with Defiant Shock Storm. Divine Wrath could be nice, but I don't know. With that combo that I just told you about, I think would rather use that rather than Divine's Wrath as low-cost damage. I mean, low-cost damage, if you get it right with the final blow using Bravery, it's nice. It really is. But, you know, ever since I made my own combo with this, I never used anything else. Dance of the Demon is really cool. It does a lot of damage for its cost. See, you just, like, swing all over, and then you slam down, and then you pull out your halberd for even more damage. It's great! It's absolutely amazing. Super amazing damage for its cost. But the problem? You take 10 years doing this damage. Look at this. You're doing you're slashing a million times on the ground, then you fly up, you slash a million times in the air, and then you do the slam, and then you pull out your halberd. Yeah, all of that takes a while. And while that is happening, guess what the enemy is going to be doing? They're going to be hitting you in the ass, they're going to be hitting you in the air, they're going to be hitting you everywhere that they can hit you. Especially when they can't be staggered. And you know what? The best part would be where they interrupt you, toss your ass away, and then you waste 6 energy for no reason. So while this is a damage, very, very high DPS for per cost, it is not worth it. I would not use this move. No, I wouldn't even call it DPS. It's more like bravery per skill. Yeah, BPS. So while this move is nice, no good. This here is really nice. Valiant Steed Blitz. As you can see, when you use this skill, a horse comes up. The whatever horse you have equipped shows up behind the enemy, knocks them up in the air. You combo, and then you fall down and do massive shield damage. Now, I use this despite the fact that I have my combo because there are times where I really need to have a bunch of damage to occur. But there's also another way I do this. So after I use my Defiant Shockstorm Skyblaze combo, I immediately use Valiant Steed Blitz if I have enough energy, especially if I'm doing if I'm using an restoring item, or if I have the Huanglong thing, which I now do. I can then knock them back with the Defiant Shockstorm Skyblaze and the finisher, the Assault. They get pushed back, and then when they're on the edge, I then use Valiant Steed Blitz, and the horse comes up behind them, knocks them up in the air, and I finish off with yet another combo. But in general, I just kind of use this when I absolutely need really fast damage on their shield. The Shockstorm and Skyblaze combo requires a bit of time, so I don't think you can even knock them up when they're using Rousseau Rage. So if I need things done, I get this guy out. So I can't replace this either. That is why, you know, despite the fact that I like Force Quake, I can't use it all that much. Force Quake, right? That's the damage increasing. Yeah, Force Quake. Yeah. Finally, we have Hellraiser, but Hellraiser is the same thing as the other skills. It's just an AoE attack. I mean, it's good. It's like the Earth Shatter, and it does good damage and everything. But yeah, there's just so many better options for the reboot. Like this thing here, it's not only does it grab someone, but also does chunks of AoE damage as well. So I don't know. I can't use this as part of a combo, and I can't use it to break an enemy's guard fast enough. So in the end, Hellraiser ends up never getting used. Well, anyway, that's about it for I suppose battle arts demonstration, and rather just chat. I feel like I probably will not put a lot of work in editing this video because I'm lazy, and you know, I have problems with my algorithm on YouTube at the moment, and I feel like it's kind of a downward spiral because, like, I suppose if I make my things more eye-catching and make my videos better, I could probably do better, but you know, I lose the motivation to do so because I have I have algorithm issues at the moment. So as a result, it just kind of spirals down from there. But enough about me, you know. I hope this weapon discussion has been useful to you. Yes, I know, like, I barely tiered or ranked the weapons. It's like literally like B, A, and S. That was it. That was really all there is. And if I had my choice, there might not even be a B tier. Like, everything is like A tier, and then there's just Halberd. Because, yeah, they're all the weapons are above average. I honestly had a lot of fun using all of them. That is why they're all maxed out. But, well, I hope that they helped you with this. Yeah, I kind of went on a tangent. But I thank you all for watching. Until next time.